superintendent.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. We will go ahead and typical Monday, we'll give have our principals and administrators give their monthly reports, and we'll start with Mr. Lake.
Okay.
Lincoln.
Today we finished administering the winter retake Keystone exams in bio. We did algebra on Wednesday. Last Wednesday we did literature on Friday. We said we finished bio today. We just have a few students that were absent. We're going to hit retakes tomorrow. Tomorrow we start our midterm schedule. The midterms the rest of the week at Lincoln High School. At the end of the semester, day 90 being next Wednesday, 20th. So we'll start second semester next Thursday, hopefully with our new Tyler system. We get the report cards printed and out within a week's time. So this should be going out for this end of the second 9 weeks. Probably by, I'd say January 27th would be our date we'd be looking for that. Mr. Mancini and I did take time to contact PDE today, Department of Ed, to ask a very important question that's been a hot debate for the last couple months, is on whether the graduation project or the Keystone exams would be continued as a graduation requirement for the class 2017 or not. Those students that have not scored proficient or advanced on the Keystone exams up until this date in algebra, current juniors, will be placed in a project the second semester of this school year to complete their requirements. It's still up in the air. Senate and House have passed bills. Governor hasn't acted on it. So right now we're heading into the second semester next week, not knowing whether to schedule those kids into projects or keep them in their current electives. We left the message, not sure if we'll actually get any reply. That's typical. So we'll forge on like it's a requirement and see what happens when that time comes. Thank you.
Go to Ms. Gibson.
Sure. Delaker Hybrid Learning came in to visit Northside last week and saw some really great things. Our kids are doing 3 station rotations. They have a collaborative station where they work with partners on some hands-on activity. They have a small group direct explicit instruction station with their teacher, and they also use their Chromebooks to work on digital content and reading. So that's going very well. We have our hybrid learning coach coming in 2 days a month to work with our teachers, giving all kinds of positive feedback and some suggestions. She usually gives me a big to-do list, and I am very proud to say I usually accomplish that before I leave that day. So we're making some great improvements using technology at Northside. We also have 2 hybrid learning teacher professional development days scheduled very soon. So our teachers are going to be working on taking the PA Common Core and assigning kids content to work on, and then we're going to use that data to drive our instruction. So it's going to be their time on the computer is going to be used to hit the Common Core that they're working on in class. So it's going to be a direct reflection of what they're learning in the reading series. We have first grade. Our Ames Web testing is done. We will be testing second grade this week, and then at the end of the month we're doing our kindergarten Dibbles Next training. We were very fortunate on January 7th to have a very mild day, so we had fire drills both at Northside and at Perry. It was a great day to do it. It was nice and warm. We have a Power Up project coming to Northside. It's a nutrition program, and it is going to be working with kindergarten, first and second grade students. We have the first session scheduled January 26th and 29th. We had a PTO meeting this month on the 7th also, and we had a great turnout. And it's always nice to see parents in the building and volunteering for things. Our dyslexia pilot is going very well. We continue to differentiate instruction. We have 30 minutes per day where the children are broken into 11 groups. Our high group is doing some very challenging, enriching activities, and some of our struggling learners and everything in between. They're getting what they need, and that's going really well. So we're very proud of that 30-minute RTII time where we can differentiate and do those 11 skill groups with 11 certified teachers. And I've actually taught the skill groups a couple of times, but we will not cancel. I don't care if every teacher calls off. If I have to call parents, we're doing it. So we haven't canceled once, and that's going really well. That's all I have.
Thank you. special ed, anything?
1 second.
Yep.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
You called it a power-up?
It's called Power Up. It's a program that Hartman had quite a few years ago. It's a federally funded program, and it teaches children about good nutrition and healthy living. Goes very well with our district wellness program.
Who teaches
We
it?
didn't, they send in a certified nutritionist to teach it.
Okay.
And they give us all kinds of things to do that we can do after they leave, and
Is it like
they
an
teach the
assembly?
teachers some things. No, it's not an assembly, it's direct instruction in the classroom. It's 30 minutes per month in kindergarten, first and second. It came very highly recommended by the teachers at Hartman. They loved it. Northside never qualified because we didn't have enough free and reduced lunch, and now we do qualify. So we're taking advantage of it. It's a good program. It's free to our school, and the teachers and kids are gonna be really excited about it. The teachers are already, the kids don't know what it's all about, but they've always really enjoyed it in the past.
That's wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
One of the agenda updates, as you know, I think I emailed you also, was on the ferry boiler. So it's on the agenda update. Now Mr. Schuster's here if you want to go ahead and give you his input on the issues at Perry.
The cores inside one of the boilers, actually there's 8 cores inside one of the boilers. It's a real similar setup to the ones that you saw in the basement here. You just went down and toured that. 3 of the cores have holes in them. These are cast iron cores, so they're going to be difficult to weld, but they are weldable, and they're going to be very heavy to pull out. I'm going to guess they probably weigh at least 500 pounds apiece. We have it tore out down to the point where we can start tearing out maybe tomorrow, providing manpower and stuff like that. I had a company tell me that this particular boiler probably isn't worth repairing because it was put in 1967. They both have been, so we need to do some consideration on purchasing.
Do we have any prices?
I'm working on that. I have Johnson Control giving me one, and I called Rennick HVAC, which is a very good company. They're looking into it. And we also called our,
Well, I guess what we need is some direction from the board. This might be a big enough project that we'd want to get an architect involved. There may be some asbestos abatement, if
Yes.
I'm not correct. I don't know that Steve and I feel comfortable writing asbestos abatement specifications and/or boiler specifications. So, I mean, I guess we'll get more information and try to come back to you for Thursday so we can get some direction as to where you want us to go with this thing. Is that where we're at, Steve? Is that?
yeah, pretty much. It's going to be basically, how much money do we want, how involved do we want to get? Is the school here forever? Are we going to keep it and run it? What do we want to do here? And I'm going to get you as much information as I can so that you can ask any questions, and hopefully I'll have the answers for it, so you can decide what you want to do.
If you get,
It's going to be something you need to consider.
if you do the welding, how long do you think that will
See,
last?
that, I don't know anything about that part, because we haven't gotten it out. Once I get the pieces out, then I'm gonna call, this renting company assured me they have a guy that can come down and weld them. Now, how much that'll be and whether it's worth it or not, because this is water inside these tubes, and of course, these tubes always rust from the inside out. So Johnson Controls is saying we probably shouldn't do this because they rust from the inside out, even though we're gonna fix these 3 holes, put it back together, who knows what's gonna happen in the next week or two because of the age of them. So there's a lot to take into consideration here,
But we're at the point where we don't have a plan B. As far as we have 2 boilers, one doesn't work.
And
When
one's
goes-
working now.
Right, but if it goes, then we're out of luck.
Right, but either way, no matter what we do, if we would decide to go full bore with this and make a really good system in it, make it computer operated like we have here, or whether we just throw a boiler down there that would work, and the ones we have down there aren't computer operated. Like I have to get out and turn them off and turn them on, just like you do in your house, If we would go that route, and that's not a bad route either, whichever route we go, you're still looking at a good month, month and a half. By the time you get one designed, and get it installed, and get it running, so,
We're gonna have to go through a bid process.
Yeah.
So there's advertising for 3 weeks, and then bid receipt, and then bid award, and then.
no matter which boiler we put in, whether we go with a good computer operating system that that I can control from my office, or whether we put one in as just a general boiler. It's still gonna take a lot of time to do, you know. The process is probably still the same, it's just the amount of money that you wanna spend.
Need any help tomorrow, give me a call.
Hands on.
There's 8 of those
I
cords.
know about that kind of help, so I wouldn't call.
There's 8 of those cords, and I'm guessing 500 pounds, they're probably a little more than that, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Mr. Morella is chomping at the bit to talk some athletics.
Well, I got a lot of information I've been looking up over the past couple months. We looked at the softball field at Stiefel Park, so I got some bids to talk to you guys about and give you some information. I met with Vance's and DuraEdge, 2 different companies. DuraEdge was the one that gave the original bid that was really $43,000 at one time, way back when. Met with the Jody from DuraEdge, and we kind of like condensed it down to feeling that was a little outlandish of where we wanted to go. Now, what they did was they gave me a new bid for about $19,800, but that doesn't include a drain and different things that I thought is definitely necessary up there to get water to run away. So Vance's came up, and I went over with them pretty much the same thing I went over with DuraEdge, and their bid came in at about $7,800. And big difference, and I believe with either company you go with, I believe we're going to be fine for what we're attempting to do. However, if you're gonna put money in up there at Stiefel, we gotta make sure we take care of the field if we're going to prepare it. For example, don't put money into a field that we're not gonna cover with a tarp. So I got prices on a tarp also. Tarps are gonna range anywhere from about $2,800 to about $3,500. Spoke also with Bob Villella, the borough manager. Bob is wonderful, has been working with he's willing to sit down and meet, which I've already spoke with and gave him some of the bids, but he wants to sit down and go over the bids with me, with Steve, whoever, needs to be in that meeting, with any of you guys would like to talk about this and come up with our best alternative. I thought doing the infield first this year was kind of the way to go, and because this was just infield price. This wasn't outfield. This was just getting the field ready to play for this year. The borough Bob mentioned that, whatever we come up with, he's willing to kind of split it down the middle with us. So the borough's willing to kick in about half the money. So right now, I was telling him about $7,800 if we went with Vance's, and with a tarp, another $3,000. So, we're looking each about $5,000, $6,000 if we go that route. I mean, I have both bids here. We'll tell you what they're doing, so I can give you guys a copy of that. That's just something I think that we need to address very, very soon, because by next month, we have to make a decision. We got softball that starts in March. They will get right here in March, get this field done, get it taken care of, and they guarantee me within 2 weeks they'll have it completed.
Mr. Morella,
Yes.
when last year we had the problem come up and we went ahead and okayed the money to get the dirt put on,
Mhm.
the special dirt. Is this this price you're giving us, is this including the drainage? Because if I
Yes.
remember what Mr. Cortez was saying, if the drainage isn't fixed, we're gonna just wash all that dirt off like we did last year.
Yeah, the dirt that was on there now, it's a muddy mess up there, okay? This is replacing about 4,000 square feet of sod,
Okay,
because we're bringing the outfield in. We have way too much infield. We're
okay,
bringing the outfield in to eliminate dirt. So we're gonna add sod in on a radius all the way around the infield. Probably anywhere between, in some sections, it's about 9 feet, in other sections, it goes down to about 4 or 5 feet. And then we're gonna do the sod up the side. We're gonna make it look like a ball field, is what we're trying to do.
but it does include the drainage.
That includes, they're gonna edge radius, create a transition with the new sod to existing lawn. They're gonna reset the foul poles, square plates. They're gonna strip away some of the mix and place on the field and install soil where sod is going. They will install 100 feet of drain pipe and 30 feet of a box drain along the third base dugout, because I explained that water runs right in the dugout. So they're gonna put 100 foot of drainage along the left field line. So that'll catch all the water that's running. Plus, in front of the dugout, a 30-foot box drain to remove the water that's going into that dugout. And then they're going to put the sod, fertilizing compact for about $7,800. Now, the 19.8 bid from Dura Edge does not include any drain at all. Yeah, that's just, it's all laid out. I'll show you guys this instead of me reading it to you. I'll give you guys a copy of all this so you guys can make some decisions. However, that does not include any drainage for this year. They believe that they want to tie the drainage into the outfield renovation, which would be done next year. I believe if we, from being up there and meeting with two different companies and looking at it with Mr. Rosansky and talking with these people, that they're gonna regrade, set it, put the new dirt, the new sod. Hopefully that will take care of a lot. And then if we cover with the tarp, we really believe that should get us.
Does include the topsoil too, that covers the
Yes.
field?
Yeah, that's regrading the whole field that's up there now.
Does the outfield need work?
Yeah, the outfield, really bad. Yeah. Outfield has humps and dips, and actually, that's where we.
It's actually a higher elevation.
It is, and that's why everything's draining down, so they're trying to blend it back in with the new sod and extend that out into the outfield so that it drains towards the outfield and off to the left.
Would it be reasonable to get it all done at once?
Do you have a price for the?
The reason why I didn't go there
Okay.
is I just want to look at our future, of what we're doing with softball and all of our fields. So that's why I was just kind of just trying to, I can get a price for both, if I'm sure within the next month, by next board meeting, if that's the route you want to take. I was just trying to keep prices at a minimum for now so that we can play softball this year. I don't feel that it's a hazard when it comes to safety.
Okay.
I just believe it's, to play softball on it, the infield does need done. You can play softball with the outfield the way it is.
For the other teams that would use that with the cover, how would that work?
Well, the cover itself is 110 by 110. So it's a system that, that the players themselves and the coaches will have to be up there to remove that cover. There's a roll that it comes with. And then they have to roll that tarp and then move it out to left field. Baseball players know, they've done it for years over it, but theirs are 170 by 170, so it's much larger. This 110 by 110 is much easier to handle than, so this would not affect any away or visiting teams. It would have to come, and not even much on the maintenance at all, because they won't be able to do it. You need anywhere between 7 to 10 people to remove a tarp.
Well, my question is the recreational league, the Little Angels and all that.
That field, as of now, is not used by Little Angels. That was the women's field up top, and they have not used that field in years. However, at that time, it could be removed by anybody that we gave them showed them the proper technique how to remove the tarp. Because basically, it's like anything else, folding it.
When the season's over, removing the story.
Well, definitely could do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
Otherwise, there's no guarantee it won't continue.
Yeah.
That's what I was considering, because during the summer, we're not there to monitor.
No, that can be removed and stored, just like the baseball one is out in the left, it's out in the right field corner,
Yeah.
where they have it out there and they have a tarp covering over top of it with some tires and things over that. We might actually be able to get that in the storage garage that's up there.
Pretty full.
Is it? But we'll be able to store it somewhere.
But then if you don't have the tarp, it's there for protection, so what's gonna happen?
In the
if you don't
summertime,
have the tarp?
I agree. See, I like to keep it on, but again, there's nobody there throughout the summertime. Then you got damage at kids, people coming up there, they're not.
But then is like that, what you just did, is that gonna wash away and then we're back to square
We
one
would
facing
hope
it
not.
again?
That would have to be something I would have to address with, Vance's Landscaping or Dora Edge, or whoever would do the field.
Yeah, that makes sense, because, if you walk on it with metal cleats, or somebody can go up there and vandalize it,
Right, I
once those
under-
things get
right.
torn, it's hard to.
Oh, right, I understand that, but then.
But I understand what you're saying. We
Right, right.
put the money into the
You put the
field,
money in, is it
and
gonna
then we
wash
pull it
away
and
and
we
take
wash it
tarp
away.
off? Right.
But I think what would happen after that is that once you have it established the way you would like it, then it would just be then pretty much replacement for every year.
Yeah. Every field needs to be, the infield.
Yeah, exactly, every year it does. Yeah, so we're actually planning on, Vance's gave us a bid to do the baseball field also, different things. So I got a bunch of different, options out there. The tarps range, like I said, from about 2,800 to 2,900 to 3,500. That's the softball end of it. I did get a list of maintenance concerns regarding the baseball field from the baseball boosters. Mr. Schuster and I spoke about them. He has already touched on quite a few of the maintenance concerns that the boosters had about making sure our field is good to go for the spring when it comes up. So Mr. Schuster and I both spoke about this. He knows, we went over it. We're trying to address every concern that we can. These are things that basically we're trying to do without costing the district money. We're trying to do within. And he's already done quite a few of them already. So there's been also a mention of a new athletic purchase procedure, which I'm attempting to do. The old, when I took the job, I didn't realize how much I would be dealing with different vendors from different companies and calling people. And you know, we place orders now at the end of May for equipment for all of school year next year. So they're getting these bids that we're sending out. We're not getting them until the seasons come up. We're missing tons of things. Football, we still have not received things for volleyball, and volleyball season's over. No matter how many times I've called, it gets lost this way, it gets lost that way. So what I've talked with Mr. Zerone and Mr. DeCaro, and I got some information from Mr. DeCaro, how our purchases and how our bids are required. And anything under, and again, Mr. DeCaro, if I'm wrong, please just feel free to chime in here. Right now, if we get a bid of anything under $10,500, it is not required to go out for bid. What that means is I'm trying to break down it into sports that I can manage it with the coaches that are there. They request specific items such as an Under Armour item, or they want only a Rydell spike. That's very hard when it goes out of the bidding process, because then not all companies can bid on just Rydell. Only companies that sell Rydell can bid on that. So what I'm trying to do is, I've already talked with the coaches, and right now they're in favor of what I'm attempting to do, but I've done nothing without your approval. What I'm attempting to do is set up for all the coaches, and I've got Mr. Zerone and Mr. Yon to give me the last 5 years of the amount of money that was spent in each sport. So I've taken the last 5 years' budgets, throw it out, took out the low, took out the high, took the 3 in the middle, average them out. I'm giving, that is the starting point for us. So each coach is going to have an amount is where he goes to. Now, that doesn't mean they get to spend that amount, because I see that as frivolous spending, just to spend it because you got it. What I'm going to propose is that we make, for all coaches, a list of things that they have to have. Safety things for kids, the proper helmets, anything that would require, anything safety issues must be purchased first. Then, if they want a specific uniform after that, that's up to them. So basically leaving the items that they purchase up to the coaching staff, like the head coach of football, head coach of basketball, because they're bidding on shoes in May, which they got last year. And if you come to our basketball games, half the kids don't wear the shoes that we purchased for them. They don't like them. They don't like them. Well, we spent $85 for a pair of shoes, and half of them weren't wearing them. Over half. So I met with the kids,
Why?
and they're not comfortable. They're cut the back of their legs, they cut their ankles. So I explained to them that then we need to have a person come in and fit you guys for shoes. But then again, that goes to the type of shoes the coach wants. So let's say, for example, that a reasonable amount for shoes is $70. I'm just using that as it. And then let's say that that's what I look at, $70. But they wanted one for $95. Well, I'll give you the 70, but then you're going to have to kick in at 25 each.
Exactly. They all have boosters, correct?
Yes.
That's what the boosters are for.
But I'm trying to make sure that we have an even playing field for everybody. I don't want to shortchange coaches. I'm a coach, I get it. It's the last thing I want to do. My goal is to give the coaches what they want. But they might have to cut their budgets somewhere else. So that's how I'm trying to work the bidding procedure, which is not bid. So anything below that, we don't have to bid. Now, football is one that we'll probably have to get some telephone bids, because they do go past $19,400. Because the equipment's so expensive for the helmets. So that is something that we're looking at. And this is something I really want to go to, because the reason why I played middleman all year with calling vendors. And that's, nobody knows who ordered, what this person ordered, this is what they wanted, this is what they got. And I just believe the coaches then become the responsibility of their orders, not me. They can call the vendor and say, hey, this isn't what I ordered. Here's what I ordered, this is what we need. That's where I'm looking at going with this. So that's something that I'm gonna be bringing to you guys within the next 2 months to hopefully get an approval for you. I'll show you some requisition sheets that I have and ways that we'll go about. So I'm gonna have a coaches meeting if we get approved on how the process of how this works. But again, I'm not, this is to save money, not to spend more money. So please understand that's the route I'm attempting to take here. And my last thing is, I wanted to talk a little bit about meeting with some field turf consultants over at the football field. I know nobody likes to hear that, but you know, Ellwood City, what we put in, like what Ellwood City builds Ellwood City, we see everywhere. Well, if you look at our field, it's like a mud bowl. I got all kinds of heck for keeping people off the field this year. That's understandable. I met with 2 different companies just to get an idea of what we would be looking at. Just so you guys know, the future of Ellwood City, as you guys know, is our children. And education, I know, is the most important thing. I'm a teacher, that's what we do. But we also have to provide them a balance of education and extracurricular activities. This field that I would like to show you guys is a field that I'm looking at as like a 25-year commitment. If you're looking at it for 5 years, looking at the price, it's not the way to look at this. This is to look at something for future. This school's hopefully not going anywhere. So because with field turf, you're looking at it, the average warranty is a minimum of 8 years. That's the warranty. The average wear and tear replacement is 12 to 15 years. Now that's on schools such as North Allegheny, North Hills, where they are on it 24/7. From lacrosse to field hockey, from football, everything. We have half those amount of sports. We're looking at this field lasting anywhere between 12 and 15 years. Is how I see this. The commitment that it takes eliminates from maintenance to painting of the lines, to cutting the grass, to watering the grass, to fertilizing. And I was gonna connect it up over here, but I'm just gonna set it out here for you guys just to take a look at. This is kind of an idea of what, the future football field could look like. And this is from your kids to your grandkids to someone else's kids, the band practicing on it anytime they want. Softball, baseball, football, cheering. This is not something that I want you just to think, oh, he just wants to spend money on football. Absolutely not. This is festival time. This is, people use this. This is from when they did all those things at the festival, Relay for Life. You can put everything on this field. It's guaranteed. So now you got all kinds of programs. Exactly. The entire community is able to use this. Now everybody likes to know numbers. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. The numbers that I got, wait, I want this end to see a little closer. The numbers that I got, this is why I said 25 years.
But you said it only lasts 12 to 15.
But I'm looking at 2 replacements. 1 replacement is what they got. So once you get the base, costs all the money.
Okay.
The initial base, drainage and all that. That's where it costs the money. You're looking between $800,000 and $900,000. But I'm glad that you laugh, because I'm glad you're humored by it. But I will tell you this, listen up. If you think of it this way, you have a field that lasts 15 years. We put a minimum of $50,000 into those fields a year. At the football field. There's your $750,000 right there. We spend it already. You're just not seeing it. You're not seeing, you don't do that anymore. Then when I'm take 25 years, it then pays for itself, because the replacement field is about $275,000. And that can be written right into your contract on your first one. So we're looking for about $1.2 million for 25 years of service. That's less than $50,000 a year. So that's what you have to, you shut my whole computer off. You turn the whole thing. Boy, that's what you think of it, huh? I just don't think that we can continue to look at, I think we need to look past grass, seed, water, paint, maintenance. I think we have to look past that. We have to look that your kids are going to get to play on a field that's prepared and ready to go all the time. There's nobody coming to get mud off the field or cleaning your kids after a football game. Your laundry's cleaner. Yes, sir.
I think the key that you need to bring up now, after you hit them with the $900,000
Yeah.
commitment, is sponsorship capabilities.
I'm working on that.
But you need sponsors to pay for.
Well, I've talked about this. I'm looking at, there's multiple fundraisers you can do. Buy an inch of the field. You go around everybody, you get alumni involved. We have already talked to Christian about alumni money that we already have in the funds that are here. But if you can get everybody in here to get 10 people to buy an inch of the football field for $50, think about it. Each one of you. Everyone sitting in here. Then you get them to get, we have this thing paid for. Now, it's up to you. But they're gonna complain next year when I cancel football again. Because it's about safety. I'm not putting little Wolverines on a football field that's completely covered in mud again.
What
Yes.
is the increase in injuries though?
Oh, no, it's a decrease in injuries. Major, oh yeah, they have all the, I can give you packets of information on
What
this.
about those stories where like the beads that you have to, you have on the turf, those
Mhm.
beads causing lung cancer in kids?
Well, we would have a, well, here's what happens.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
Here's what will happen with this.
Cancer?
If we decide to
There's some,
There, yes.
show the interest in
Yes.
this,
and there's a disposal cost to the old field too that you have
Yes.
to look into.
we have, yeah, and that's part of that whole beginning price. And I spoke with, these guys are willing to come in and talk with you, but they are type of people, obviously, they want to make sure they got a sale. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, okay, they want to come in and speak. They'll give me all the information. If you guys are interested, I've already met with them, they would be glad to come in and talk, they said. But they have to meet with administration first, because they set up how all the groundwork needs to be laid, because proper drainage. All right, I just want you to know that we spend over $50,000 now a year on the field now. Yes,
I got
Ms.
a
Bennett
question
here.
here. The borough needs to replace a pipe underneath it. How does that happen?
That would be, those things are sewn. So for example, we'd have to obviously have to get their company to come in to open it up, kind of like surgery. Cut it open, open it up, come in, fix it, put it back down, obviously. So that would have to come out, fall under some insurance type of,
Okay,
whenever they would have any type of insurance for the football field, I would imagine.
thank you.
Could you get us numbers for the past 5 years of how much we've spent on the football field?
Yeah, I'll have it for you next meeting.
There's still maintenance involved with the artificial turf. I mean,
Yes.
I remember when you guys brought it up the first time, and I had done some research on it, and they say it's actually the sun, not that we get that much sunlight, but the sun degrades it, and that there is maintenance for that.
That was,
also.
you remember the last time it was brought up was probably, I don't know how many years ago it was. We're looking at totally different technology today
Okay.
from what you just saw 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago, or even from last year. It's like anything else, this stuff keeps getting better and better.
Being we live in western Pennsylvania, we have the least amount of sunlight
Right.
everywhere in the world,
Yes.
so.
Right.
And a lot of rain and a lot of messy fields.
Yeah.
I'm not the salesman, I don't get a commission for field turf. I'm just saying, I just look at the future for all of our kids using it, from the band to you name it, it's here.
If you could.
Thank you, sorry to take up so much of your time.
Convince me that it's gonna be a cost-saving measure, then.
I'm sorry?
I'd be for it, but if it's not a cost-saving measure, I just don't see how we could spend money when we're looking into buying, or looking
Well,
into.
we'll show you
STEM
cost
lab or
saving, I'll have it
research.
next month.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Madam President,
Yeah.
after the athletic director report, just a comment that for everybody. Athletics has always been part of any education system. Since antiquity, athletics has been part of any education system. I would challenge anybody, transcend the globe, transcend time and history, find me an institution of learning that did not take great pride and dignity in fielding athletic teams. Everyone has considered that a part of a complete, comprehensive education system. It is just as much as anything else. Take the institutions of learning that have the best reputation for academics, and they all have athletic programs. It's always part of it. Thank you.
You.
Thank you, Mr. Morello, and turn it over to Mr. Keeley for the presentation, so.
Oh, I'm gonna slide around. What a way to go
I'll do
down.
my quick building report, and then I'm gonna do a quick little PowerPoint if you don't mind. Most of you have heard this already, but I wanted to be heard by everybody, if you know what I mean. Perry, second year in a row, named Distinguished Title I School, which makes us part of the top 5% of Title I schools in the Commonwealth. So to do a little more math for you, 96 schools were named Distinguished Title I schools in the state, and there are 2,000 of them. Okay, again, that's not a district, that's a school, so that's a pretty impressive honor. Again, it's 2 years in a row. Very proud of my staff and my students for that accomplishment. I'll give more details on this on my Thursday commendations, but I just want to thank the PTO while I'm here for all the things that they do and how involved they get. They brought Josh and Gab to the elementary schools, little rock and roll band, anti-bullying message, really cool. The kids really get into a lot of these kids follow Josh and Gab year round, watch them on YouTube, so they really enjoy that. The Jingle Drive brought in almost $3,500. Kids were bringing in coins, and the PTO spent the whole day counting it, and that was a pretty impressive event at all three of the elementary buildings. Christmas party was great. Candy cane grams. I said this at the PTO meeting, boy, do those kids know how to spend a quarter. They have fun with that. So that's a really cool thing the PTO did in December. In January, PTO and I are working together to get the Christmas stands going. That's a good time. That'll be the last Saturday in January. And again, the kids love that. Carson Scholars have not been announced yet, but I've nominated my maximum one from each of my buildings. Before I became an elementary principal, there was not a winner at Hartman or Perry. I can't tell you if there were any nominees, but there was not a winner because there was not a trophy. We got trophies at both of the schools now, and we've had 5 winners in my 3 years. So I'm crossing my fingers that we get a couple more here. I will keep you posted. I'm expecting that announcement to be made end of January, beginning of February, so I'm hoping to know that before the next meeting. Last little fun item of business, the Hartman Intramural Hockey League, Mrs. Cortez, who is here, was the homeroom for the champions, and we had a good time. Staff, including myself, played the champion hockey team in a little grudge match, and that was a lot of fun. So the kids had a great time, and I want to thank the board for their support on allowing us to do that. So I'm going to present this to you, if you don't mind. And honestly, I'm really looking for direction here. We've got options for elementary scheduling, and this year's status quo is not really going to be an option. So I want to show you some things and just make this as clear as I can. And then at the end, I think I even asked you, I don't know if you want to give me a directive, make a motion, but sometime this week, today or Thursday, I would like to know the direction that you would like me to go. So I'm going to try 2 controllers mostly because this one has a laser pointer and this one does not. We'll see if I'm ambidextrous with this thing or not. And Joe, I don't know if this has the range to make it. All right, so our options for scheduling. Again, I'm going to show you numbers and show you different things, but basically, I've got to come up with some creative scheduling. We've got to come up with some creative financing, but honestly, status quo is not a real option. So, why now? There are a bunch of points as to why now. Those include many moving parts of the schedule. So, when I'm considering schedule, I can consider all these things: special ed, specials. Hopefully we get Wolverine Workshop down there, part 2, the band schedule, duty schedules. In addition, I've got a bunch of staff concerns. I may have to reallocate someone from Hartman to Perry. If the board wants to go the direction of hiring a new teacher, we should start that process early. If you get into August to do that, then you don't have the pick that you would have if you did that interviewing in June. Also, if we do these things if we're gonna change some positions, then some of these teachers, they might want a little additional training to feel a little more comfortable in their new or their next position. So here are some numbers, and I cover some of these up as we go along. These are basically class sizes for the last couple years. Grades are on the left, number of students, that's last year. We had 6 teachers in each grade. There's the average class size. This year, these numbers basically went down here, except the actual numbers obviously changed. We have some enrollment, some withdrawals. The big change, if you want to click that for me, the big change is right there. We went down to 5 teachers in 4th grade. Again, that's the smallest class. I understand, you know, we did that. I even suggested it so we get a teacher in the Wolverine workshop. Class size, it's a little bigger, but that class size isn't bigger than that class size was. You know, obviously the number of kids is different, but it's a little bigger. So I just want to show you some other numbers. So that's just exactly the right side of that previous slide. All that stuff's still there. If we kept everything the same, the average class size would be nearly 27 in 4th grade. That's why I'm telling you, status quo is not an option. We cannot possibly keep 5 teachers in 4th grade. So if we rearrange staff and we shift someone from Hartman to 4th grade, then we would have that small class covered by 5 teachers. Again, this is an option. These numbers, very similar to those numbers. This is a slide that compares these exact group of kids from 3 years ago. When this group of kids, next year they'll be in 3rd grade, was in kindergarten, they actually had 7 teachers. Class sizes are all projected to be bigger than this group of kids had 3 years ago. If we add that up and we add that up, you see that we have 2 less teachers for the same group of kids. If you add up all the students, you'll see that we're about 4 students shy of what we had in 13-14 in these 4 classes. So we're 4 students smaller and 2 teachers smaller.
Can I ask you a question? My daughter's in 4th grade. Her class is 29. So why is it that some of them are 29, 28, 27, and some are like 19?
I have one class that's actually 12 or 14.
Right.
We have some classes that include some special education kids. Those kids can be a handful sometimes. So we give that homeroom a few less kids. That's why you might see a 29 versus a 25. The class of 12, I call that a tier 2 intervention classroom. It's 12 or 14, I don't know. And those kids, they need a little extra time and help to get caught up. So we sort of double team them in their math and reading class to catch them up on the skills they lack. Research tells me that 3rd grade is really a tipping point, 3rd and 4th grade towards literacy. Kids that can't read by the time they exit 4th grade have like 4 times the rate of being incarcerated as those that can read. So that's a real important aspect of 4th grade for me. Okay, so that was my numbers game. Schedules at Hartman, grades 5 and 6. So in 6th grade, we operate in pods. The pods are not exactly the same in the way the teachers teach, but the kids stay in the pods. There are 3 homerooms in each pod. They rotate, they see all 3 teachers. So we're sort of semi-departmentalized. If you want to hit the button again, there's some times, and they have each of these sort of teachers for 90 minutes. They see 3 teachers a day. 5th grade, it's a little different. Did this a couple years ago. Based upon the talents of the teachers in 4th grade. I will say her name here and put it on the record. I think Miss Lombardo is the best writing teacher in the county, maybe the state, and I think it's real imperative that if I have a resource like that, that I have every kid in my 5th grade see her, which is why students in 5th grade see 4 teachers a day. It's sort of set up the same as it is in 6th grade, and it was when I took over 4 years ago. But I made this switch so that the kids see Mrs. Lombardo regardless of what pod they are in. Other than that, it's very much the same. Okay. In the spring of 2005, I gave a similar presentation to the board. I wanted to pilot a schedule where all the students at Hartman visited every teacher in their grade. That was for 5th grade and for 6th grade, anticipating the upcoming year where status quo wasn't going to make it, where potentially I was going to go down to 5 5th grade teachers. It's hard to make a schedule where everybody sees 4 teachers when you have 5. The numbers don't jive that way. So, proposal included 1 teacher teaching each of these subjects and then teachers seeing them all. The kids were not losing instruction time. I thought there were a lot of pros. And initially we were go, and then got redirected and we switched it back to the way we had it. Okay. And I already kind of said that. Okay. So there are all kinds of possibilities. If we go with a 5-teacher rotation in 5th grade, we could do something like this. Kids would go to all 5 teachers for about an hour apiece. If we had a 6-teacher rotation, again, that might be 6th grade next year, then the kids would go to all the teachers for about 45 minutes apiece. Again, I see math and reading instruction time being exactly the same. It's not going to be in the same format it is this year. It's going to be a little bit different. But what it allows us to do, what it allows me to do, is it allows me to align my resources and get things going in the right direction with regard to special ed, the math and reading tutor that we employ. And for my money, it helps kids the most. Okay. I'm going to pat myself in the back here. I'm a little bit of a wizard when it comes to schedules. This schedule, I call this the impossible schedule, and I figured it out. Basically, if I had 11 teachers at Hartman, come up with a schedule where there'd be 5 homeroom teachers in 5th grade, 5 in 6th grade, and 1 teacher would teach social studies to everybody. Okay? So, yeah, that looks kind of complicated, and I'm not going to lie to you, it kind of is. What that schedule does is it gives me more common planning time across grade levels and within departments. And that's a big deal. And again, kids do not lose instruction time. Kids are being instructed in these areas as much as they ever have been, especially the math and the reading. Okay, so I'm calling this the fully departmentalized model. Pros and cons, I'm going to let you read those to yourself. I'm not saying this is a completely inclusive list, to be honest with you. There could be things on here I didn't put, but I just tried to be open and honest with what I think the truth is. So I'll give you a minute. I'm going to move on unless someone stops me.
I have a question.
Yep.
How does library and the STEM lab fit, the STEAM lab fit into that,
Into,
your schedule
well,
and art?
the special schedule is a half-an-hour block that's worked in there, and I have that all worked in. I don't know how to tell you, but seamlessly. If you wanted to see, I could print the schedule out and give it to Mr. Mancini to give you Thursday, or I could email it to you, but it's...
But is STEAM considered one of the special activities then?
This is for Hartman. We don't have a program there yet. But I would not consider the Wolverine Workshop a special. It's the power that comes with that is the flexibility, not calling it a special. When you lock yourself in, you lock yourself into things being scheduled, and honestly, I don't prefer that. I don't think the kids or the teachers do either. By allowing that flexibility, You get those meaningful learning experiences based upon curriculum, and they can be in there for an hour straight. If I've got to schedule it, it'll be a half an hour, and you're locked in, and it's real tricky to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so this is the current schedules in grades 3 and 4, and I'm just gonna be completely honest with you. That does not represent 4th grade at all, because 4th grade is crazy. And I say it's crazy because on the one side, this is what we've always done. There are 2 teachers, the one teaches this, the one teaches that, the kids go back and forth and oscillate between the 2 of them. But on the other side, we have 3 teachers. So we're down to 5, this is all 5 of them. We could not have 3 sets of 2, a set of 2 and a set of 3. So we do have a math teacher, we have 2 reading teachers, we have 1 science and social studies teacher, everyone teaches spelling. It's a little crazy, but they make it work. So this is fairly indicative, it's a fair representation, but there is not a way to graphically represent what that schedule looks like on a PowerPoint presentation, to be completely honest with you. Okay. This is what the current 3rd grade schedule looks like. I have 3 self-contained classrooms. I have 3 classrooms that rotate amongst 3 teachers, and that's a hybrid. I inherited that from a previous regime, and teachers convinced me that due to their strengths, they would like to continue to do that. They still are in that boat, but I am almost certainly going to change that with your blessing back to 6 self-contained classrooms for next school year. So that is the current plan, but again, I'm looking for your direction on that. Okay. I think I have more slides after this, but I can't remember, to be honest with you. My request to you is a directive or a motion or some direction to go here. Number 1, at some point I need to know if you're willing to hire a teacher for 4th grade. If you want to make that commitment to put that 6th teacher in 4th grade, then I don't have to worry about making a schedule with 5 teachers in a grade, because that makes things a little crazy. But again, I consider myself a magician. I can do any of that if you like. These are sort of separate and distinct. Whether you hire a teacher or not, it is in my professional opinion that it is in the student's best interest to fully departmentalize Hartman next school year. I'm asking the board to trust me to create a schedule, and I don't exactly know what that would look like right now, to be honest with you. I would want to sit down with my teachers at those grade levels, talk to them, see what they think works best, and work that out. Again, I have multiple ideas and multiple plans, but I think their professional opinion needs to be addressed, and I've sort of given them this presentation in December and showed them what I was going to present to you ahead of time. At Perry, if I get 6 teachers back in grade 4, I want to return to pairs, duads, and in grade 3, I want to return to self-contained model. I guess that is it.
That's it.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Morrell.
We have, right now in 3rd grade,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, we have 3 teachers that are rotating between 3 different subjects in pods, and then 3 self-contained classrooms.
Yes.
So then what is the rationale from changing that back now to self-contained classrooms?
There are multiple parts of the rationale. Number 1 is the teachers that situation was created for are no longer in that situation. And one of the new teachers who's part of that does not particularly prefer it. So that's a big strike. I want my teachers to be happy, because if they're not happy, if they're not content, if they're skeptical as to this is going to work or not, then, to be honest with you, it probably will not. My personal opinion has always been that I think 3rd grade should be self-contained, but I've let my teachers sort of tell me this is what they want to do, they think it works best, this plays to their strengths, etc., etc. I've done that, but now that there's kind of some waffling, I think this is a good time to make that switch.
So this approach would be incremental, like 3rd grade they'd be self-contained, 4th grade they'd go back, they would just have 2 different teachers, and then 5th and 6th would be a lot more.
I like the third grade.
Yes.
Because my daughter, she was part of the switching. Though she could handle it, it was a lot for a third grader. So that, I like that you're doing that.
I understand that completely, and I know it is, especially for some, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It was a lot for a lot of kids that did well.
Yep.
That affected their grades because they just couldn't handle it.
Yep.
And 3 different teachers, 3 different attitudes, personalities.
And to those teachers' credit, they were on the same page with rules and
were.
communication. They did a really nice job of that, and that was one of the safeguards I tried to put in when we met about it, and they did a nice job with communication. But still, we're talking about 8-year-old kids.
Right.
Anything else from anybody? Okay. Thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing back from you.
Can you run through these slides just one more time, just so I can kind of get it all, you
If I,
know? It's
if
like-
I understood it right,
Yeah.
third grade is going, what you would like to see happen is third grade is going to go all self-contained. Fourth grade, though, isn't staying the same. Didn't you want them to be 3 and 3 instead of 2, 2 and 2, or are they staying the
I
same?
want to, there is no staying the same because there's 5 of them.
Well,
What it was,
okay,
in
but
previous
from
years,
before.
every kid had 2 teachers.
Okay,
If I get that 6th teacher in 4th grade, I want to go back to that.
okay. And then,
Yeah.
in 5th grade, have you considered, if they go 5th grade and we have 5 teachers again, having math and reading, and then having Mrs. Lombardo be the 3rd, and do all of them the way they do now, only with 2 classrooms instead of having
The
all of
math
them?
doesn't work out to have, so you mean 5 homerooms, everybody sees 4 teachers?
No, everybody sees 3, Lombardo being the common denominator, 2 and 2, the way they've done basically in 4th grade, but having Lombardo being the one that they all see, the way she is, the way she
problem-
was in 5th grade.
The main problem with that is the amount of writing that she does. It's hard to ask her to do writing with 150 kids or 120 kids, social studies and science with 120 kids. That's because they write every day, and she reads every one of those, and she puts comments on every one of those.
But she has that, when Mark was in 5th grade last year, she saw all the 5th graders.
Correct, but only for writing English, not for writing and social studies science also. If I were gonna go to the model you're saying, she would have to teach English and science social studies, and that's a lot to ask of one teacher.
Well, she couldn't just go and teach the one subject, just.
Time-wise, it doesn't mesh. It would not work out. They would have to be 90 minutes apiece, and I couldn't do,
Well, why would it have to be 90 if she's only teaching one class? Isn't that
because
what
of the other
theories
two,
are
the
now?
other 2 classes. If math and reading are 90 minutes apiece. Okay, so that's those 2 teachers. The other piece I'm missing would be science, social studies, and English, ELA. Okay, so that other piece, I need 90 minutes to fill up the rest of the school day, and I need someone to teach social studies, science. Well, I don't have any other teachers left, so she'd have to do both.
You couldn't break down more time in the other classes for them, the other teachers pick that up? One of the- she had
I have
pick
to
that
fill
other
up
thing.
her schedule too. Like, it's just, the math, honestly, the math does not work out. So you want to go through all this again, or?
No.
Okay, because I will.
What side
Can
do
you
you
go
wanna
to
see?
the departmentalized, I think it's the next slide.
That one? How many teachers?
No, keep going. This one right here.
Yep.
Since you're saying Miss Lombardo is like, and I've had her, she's an excellent writing teacher. Instead of that social studies being that half teacher that splits between 5 and 6, could you make a 5 and 6 full-time writing, her a full-time writing teacher for grades 5 and 6, and do 5 teachers in both grade levels teaching all?
Could you?
subjects?
Yes. That's a flop. Problem is, now I'm asking her to look at 10 different classes, or 254 kids writing, and that's too much. It's a lot to ask her to do 135.
I think that's awesome, I never even considered that. We're gonna definitely have some conversations.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Sealy. Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started with the revenue and finance. Mr. Zarone.
I've got more paper for everybody.
So excited.
Before I feel like
Number one, right here.
We're repeating Saturday.
What?
They said we're repeating Saturday.
Yeah.
And I've got one more to shoot down here. This is the 2016-17 proposed preliminary fund budget. If you just want to kind of take a few seconds to read through this top page, then I can kind of cover. Pardon me? Did you get everything?
You got nothing left.
No, I'm sorry, I was giving you a second. Well, I'll start with the budget. We do have the 2016-17 preliminary fund budget. What I've done is I put a budget together, basically taking the salaries that I have.
Yeah. Okay. We will move on. We'll come back to revenue and finance. Personnel and education will be executive session items. We'll go over to properties and transportation, facilities requests. There's about 5 or 6 there. LHS cheering boosters request permission to operate the concession stand again for the boys junior high varsity and junior varsity basketball games and home wrestling matches for the 16-17 school year. So we're looking.
Question about
Yep.
that. Why so early? We just last month, I think I asked you this before, last month okayed them for this year. And now this month they want for,
Next year.
right.
Just to get, we don't have any other kind of protocol, whoever puts it in first, and that's typically who gets it, so we
And we
don't put
don't.
them out for any kind of,
We don't usually wait until the year, the actual school year, in case somebody else is interested in it. And the other thing
if somebody else is interested in it, then what do you do? I mean, that's,
well, I don't know, isn't there some kind of protocol on if, like, the basketball boosters wanted it since they're their basketball games, that they have first picks in the ones that are actually involved in the
I think
sport?
what we kind of said is that typically for that sport, basketball parents want to watch their kids play, so they don't want to be working in a concession stand. So, you know,
The other question I had
Yep.
was, I noticed when I read over last month's request, that they had asked to use the actual concession stand in the large gym. Was that granted to them? Because we never, we allowed them to do it, but they had asked about that.
what do you
In their-
mean?
In their actual request to use the gym, they asked if they could use concession stands instead of dragging everything across to the hallway.
For the junior high games,
Yes.
what about it?
I wondered if that request was granted to them, because we never addressed it. And when I went back and looked, when I was going through my papers looking for a specific one, I came across the cheerleading requesting use of the concession stands, and they had asked specifically about not having to haul the tables and so on across. for the JV games, and they asked if they could use the actual, I guess there are concession stands in them.
There's 2 of them.
Yeah, I'm not even aware.
I thought we did that last month or so.
But we allowed them to, for the game, but I don't remember if the concession stand usage was permitted.
No idea.
Okay, sorry, I should have pulled that sheet when I saw it.
Yeah.
Okay, so not sure.
So,
We
letter
can
A.
find out.
Ellwood City Art Club requests space in the old art room, which is in the basement of Lincoln High School, to hold classes in the evenings and the fourth Saturday of the month from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays. This is a new request. We do have the one art area that is not used right now. Used to be the ceramics class is what they're requesting. They came up and met with Mr. Sovich earlier, at the end of the year last year, and we told them to put in a formal request for use of that. So right now, I think it's kind of, they pay rent where they're at right now, and looking for some place that they don't have to pay that rent, and have some space that they can utilize.
What about having a custodian in the building?
We have custodian here in the building. We used to have GED classes down in that area also. If you remember, we used to let GED classes happen in the other art room also. So that's been used. They come in right through that teacher's entrance, so they're not in any other part of the building. Go down the steps, go into the art room, and come right back up. So there's access that won't be to the other parts of the building. So you're talking the Ellwood City Art Club.
Yeah, but what, Saturday, there's not a custodian here?
We have police, I
We have
believe,
police,
all day.
the captain.
This is-
The rental.
It's 4 nights a week, 4 days a week.
Right.
How long is this for? Are they asking? Like
Probably as much as they
indefinitely?
want, yes, definitely.
Forever?
Yep.
Would we charge them rent to do this?
We could charge them some type of rent. We do have a rental fee. I don't know if you'd want to charge like the maximum, because it is a community-based event, a community group that community people use the facility. So you can make that adjustment when it gets finalized, so.
And another question, I saw they're gonna be here one day from 10 to 4.
That's Saturday.
Oh, that's Saturday,
Yes,
okay.
that's Saturday, yep.
But the Thursday, 1 to 3, that's during school time?
Yeah, we'd make them get their clearances correct? They're in with,
I think that's what they currently have. Obviously, they couldn't have the building from 1 to 3. I think they put in that letter what they currently offer.
oh,
So
I see.
that's what they do now.
Okay.
I see, so
Okay,
we would
that's
just let
their-
them know they're
yeah.
not,
We would set up that schedule with them, 6 to 8, whatever.
Well, the way the motion reads, is the fourth Saturday of the month.
Right,
So both classes in the evenings and the fourth Saturday, so that doesn't include school times.
right. That's what they currently offer, what they're doing now.
Yeah, I do still have concerns with them coming in the building and having access, but that's anyone. Is that door normally locked during the evening?
Probably, yeah.
It's always locked?
Yep.
Why couldn't they use the door where the kiln was to enter from there and then lock the exit doors? Then they wouldn't be able to get into the building.
There is an entranceway there beside the kiln. Yeah, we don't have it video monitored. That entrance, the teacher entrance, is pretty heavily monitored. So just depends on how you want to split the difference. Like I said, I just had 2 lady representatives show up in my office one day, and they were like, well, we really need some space. And I'm like, yo.
We're talking about the Ellwood City Art Club here.
We're talking about the art club, that's correct. They told me their numbers were dwindling a little bit, they were having a hard time maintaining their space in town, and they just wanted to run by the board and see what the reaction was and what we were capable of doing, basically.
I think it's a great idea, because maybe it will actually spark some of the kids, and I think that was one of the things that they mentioned.
Yeah,
Since
they
our
brought that
art
up.
clubs, our arts aren't what they used to be, it might get some of the kids more involved.
We also have some equipment down there that at one point in time, we agreed as a board that we were gonna go ahead and sell. Pottery equipment and stuff, so I think that in speaking with the high school principals, that they would think that we'd wanna save that if the board's gonna go ahead and make an approval of that particular request. So if you decide that you're gonna approve that request, we probably would hold off selling that stuff to see if the art club might wanna use it for their own purposes.
We can
I
still
don't know if
sell
they'd want
it.
to, well, I guess they could.
Just how much money they have. I mean, they're asking because they're running out of money.
Sure.
They don't have, but in the same sense, they know that there's an art room here that's not being used, so.
And we have no use for that room.
Right now, I think Mrs. Walters might use it for some enrichment stuff right now, as an extra classroom, but it's not being used as an art class.
Anybody have any other questions?
Okay, Special Olympics, we do this every year. They use the boys' gym for practice for their tournaments. Ellwood City Girls Slow Pitch Softball League requests permission to use the girls' gym for practice on Saturday, March 12th, 19th, 2016, from 1 to 4. The Ellwood City Arts and Crafts and Food Festival requests the use of Ewing Park School ground property, football stadium lot on Joffrey Street across from the practice field during the annual festival. Festival will be held from July 1st through July 2nd, July 3rd, 2016. The baseball and football stadiums are also requested for annual fireworks display on Sunday, July 3rd, along with LHS parking lot for people using the festival shuttle service during those 3 days. We typically do that every year.
I have a question. The use of the Ewing Park School and the stadium lots, they're basically requesting us to give it to them to sublet out to whoever they see fit. My problem is, shouldn't we be getting a request form from the groups that are actually going to use those specific facilities?
Which you mean by that they let them use it to park and raise money?
But they charge
Right, that's why.
them.
Well, they-
Like, we give it to them, we don't
For
charge
free.
them, right?
No, I
But
don't
then
charge them.
they're charging
Other
whoever
groups
is,
to use them.
the group
Right,
that
and
is
then they
doing the
split
parking.
they're splitting the proceeds between like
Yeah.
the firemen and the festival.
Yeah, they take half,
Yes.
which is awfully nice of us to give it to them for free.
Board want to charge them?
Let's charge them.
Well, I think that the groups that are actually using the property should be requesting to use the property.
Yes.
Not just
Right.
us subletting, us letting the festival committee determine who gets to use it. I think if someone wants to use it, they need to fill out the appropriate form to use it.
Would we charge somebody other than the festival committee? Isn't the fire department the one who has the Ewing Park School?
Typically, yes.
So that's what we're saying, why aren't they filling out the request? Like whoever, like what's the policy on that? Like whoever is actually using it, or are we letting whoever wants to sublet it to whoever they want?
We only get the letter from the festival committee. That's the only letter we ever get, so.
Okay,
Because they give the permissions for the different organizations.
right.
Like,
Right.
we built the Lions Club shelter, but we have to pay to use the
Right.
shelter in the park. We pay the committee, and that pays for the police and everything else that they need to run the festival. So they're using it as an income stream.
To
But,
fund the festival.
yeah,
So even the Lions who own their own.
Well,
right,
we-
they're not-
we built it for the borough. The borough actually has it, but
Okay.
Well, I
Yeah,
just
we have
think
What
to
that-
direction do you guys want me to go?
I think
Just
that
give me
I.
some, does the board want to give me some direction here?
I'd like
As
to
far as-
suggest that the specific groups that want to use the lots make the request that they want to use the lot.
The problem that's gonna cause is then the festival committee isn't going to get their share, which is gonna cause a problem with their
Right.
funding the festival.
But we're giving it to them to use for free. We're not charging the festival committee.
Right.
And then the
I mean, it's
festival,
going
they,
back into the
they turn around and.
community. No? That's my only thought, is that the community is, who is benefiting from it, is because they're putting on the festival.
The festival committee is a nonprofit organization.
Right,
I don't think we want to charge them for using it for a community event.
right.
And I don't know all the mechanics of how they decide that, but I just see we're getting into now we're managing who's going to use it. Where now they just put in a request and
Well, that's our job,
they
isn't
just
it?
assign it.
It's our property. It's our job to.
but it is our job to do the logistics of the festival, because that's what's gonna happen.
No,
Yeah.
no,
We're
We're
gonna
not
have
running
to
the
monitor
festival.
what
It's-
field.
It's our property and they're parking on it, which is fine. We can donate that. If we're donating it, why can't we donate it straight to the fire department rather than the festival that can let anybody on it? It's saying who gets on it and who doesn't get on it.
Well, say the Wartenburg Fire Department and the Ellwood Fire Department both put in for the Ewing Park property, the Ewing Park school property. Wartenburg has consistently done it for years. Ellwood is the first one in. Sorry, Wartenburg, you have to find someplace else to go.
No.
Well, how would we decide who is worthy and who is unworthy?
We're
The
not
same
deciding
people that do-
anybody's worthy or unworthy. What we're
Right.
saying is whomever wants to use it should be the person making the request to use it.
But if you open it up to anybody, anybody can want to use that. And then you're picking and choosing over who you're going to give it to.
Well, somebody's gonna have to use it and a whole bunch of people aren't. That's just the way it is. I mean, you're gonna have one group that's going to be able to use it. But what's misleading is the festival is saying, we wanna use it, but then they're turning around and letting someone else. The festival committee is not staffing it themselves and parking cars and collecting the money. I wouldn't have a problem with that. If they wanna apply to use it, and they wanna staff it, and they wanna park the cars, and they wanna make the money and do all that themselves, hey, that's great. But if they're asking us to use it, and we're nice enough to say, yes, you can use it, then they're turning around and say, okay, well, you're gonna use it, someone else is gonna use it.
But by the festival committee, they're managing it, they're supervising it, they're responsible for any damage to it. I mean, if you have the Little Wolverines having the field at the football stadium, and they're responsible for that, and then you have to, and there's damage over there, and there's damage on the Ewing Park school property, and that's Wartenburg, that means Rich is chasing around different insurance companies and different people for different responsibilities. Whereas if it falls under the festival, if there's an issue, we go to the festival and say, do it.
I think it might just come down to a matter of trusting the festival committee to do it, and if they breach that trust, then, I mean, we can always say, you can't have it anymore, because it is, I think that it's a matter of respect between the two entities, between the school district, between the festival committee. If they don't respect the school by subletting it to an outside contractor that wants to make money for profit, but we're talking also, again, volunteer fire departments that need the money as well as the Arts and Crafts Festival. So I think it comes down to a matter of trust. It's been happening for years. I think it's a minute issue. I don't think that it's going to cause problems, but that's something that we can monitor as a board of how they use the facilities. But I don't see doing something now as
Changing the protocol.
right. I mean, I think it's just a matter of trust, and if that trust is broken, then we can do something to respond to that, I guess. But I don't see. I'd like to trust the festival committee, and it's a good thing for our town. It brings in a lot of money, and I think it's good for us. So that's just my 2 cents.
My question then would be to John, if we grant the festival committee use of the facility and another organization uses it, and then if there is a problem, then who's it come back to? The people that are using it, that they
Well,
let
could maybe
use,
both, but
or
definitely-
both, or is
definitely
it
the-
us? Because then if they let someone else use it, and someone comes back to us and says, well, hey, you granted this to these people, but these are the ones that are using it, so.
I mean, if somebody got hurt, it's gonna, ultimately will go back to the festival committee, because they're the ones that asked for the use of the property. They may go back against the fire department, say.
Whoever.
but- So kind of just follow the chain back down. But from our standpoint, we go back against the festival committee.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Okay, letter F, Ellwood City Amateur Baseball Federation requests use of Sanders Field, Freedom Field, T-ball, shot put area, batting cages, restrooms, press boxes, and concession stands for the 2016 baseball season through the end of July. Practices and games begin at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and with Saturday as a makeup. Authorized bids for supplies. The administration is requesting authorization to utilize state bid contracts, cooperative purchasing initiatives, and prepare specifications and advertise for general arts, industrial arts, custodial science, athletic equipment, and supplies, for the 2016-17 school year. Mr. Morella, Athletic Director, is proposing a new method to procure athletic supplies, which he presented to you also.
Can I ask a question on that? Mr. Zarone,
Yes.
how would Mr. Morella's proposal work?
Well, my understanding is basically we're gonna go back and take an average of what the sports have spent over the last 5 years. I think he said he threw out the high and the low, and then just allocate a certain budget amount to each specific sport. And each coach, the way I understand it, is gonna be responsible for completing his own requisitions, which would then come through the business office, would make sure that there's adequate funds in the account. The business office would then issue the purchase order, and we'd go through the same system that we currently go through. Purchase order's out, it comes in, it's cleared by Eric Bartolomeo, up to the business office for payment.
So what happens if the cheering sponsor picks green and orange uniforms? Who catches that?
I'm not really sure I mean,
Because he said uniforms when he gave his,
well, I mean, I think that's gonna be on him. I mean, it's his and Mr. Lape, I mean, that's his responsibility. I mean, I think that he has some forms and model forms that he wants to use, so I think that when we have a requisition, what normally happens, it goes to a department head, then to the principal, then to the business office. In this case, I think we'd go to Mr. Morella first, he would sign off on it, and then it would go to Mr. Lake to sign off on, then it would come down to the business office, and they would sign off on it once we knew that there were adequate funds.
well, isn't, Leroy, am I wrong? Isn't there a policy, didn't we pass a policy about or is that a recommendation that have to be Ellwood blue and white or
I
something?
think that anything from the has to be signed off with the highest head of the athletic department, Mr. Lake. I think Mr. Lake is well versed in our school code.
Royal blue and white.
Yeah, I really don't see any problem with it from that perspective. My major concern was whether we would comply with the law because of the bid requirements. I mean, we've purchased $40,000 or $50,000 in athletic equipment over the last several years. And I thought, based on those numbers, we were required to go through the bid process, but we can break it out by sport because you're buying football helmets here and basketball shoes there, so it's not like equipment. Anything that's like across the board, we would go through a bid process. But, I mean, there's not anything that we buy enough of that's really gonna require us to go, again, through a bid process, other than some of the things maybe in football. I mean, that would be the highest expense sport.
How would that work if we were doing that per sport, per season, and we realized we had a budget crisis and we couldn't spend?
I think that Mr. Morella then would just shut down it would shut down the requisitions other than what's absolutely necessary to run a sport. What happens now, and traditionally, I would put specifications together. We would go out to bid, those would come in, and we would cut the orders in April, May, and they would all go out. So if we ran into a situation, we've already got legal purchase orders out there that, you know, are basically a contract with those companies saying, send it to us, we're gonna pay for it. So this kind of prevents that to a certain degree if we did get into a budget crisis where we had to shut the spending down. This stuff. And I think it's also gonna be an advantage to him in that he's gonna be able to order during the sports season. So for example, what would be coming up now would be baseball, softball. They can order what they need based on the number of players that they have and what they have in their inventory, as opposed to telling me in December of 2015 that next April, May of 2016, 17, whatever it is, that we need this, this, and this. So, I mean, I see the program working fairly well. Again, my concern all had to do with whether it was under the law, something we were able to do.
And it is under the law? Okay, thank you.
Number 3, removal of old obsolete equipment. Cindy Pertow has requested permission to have the electric baby grand piano that she purchased more than 15 years ago that has not been used for the past 6 years due to needed repairs be given to the Cortez family according with policy 706.1. I think you all read the letter from Ms. Grieco and Mrs. Pertow. We just felt that, you know, let's bring that to the board because it's been here so long and make sure that everybody's in the understanding that if that's the direction the board wants to go with it, that's fine. We didn't want to have to make, you know, be the ones that make that call on something that's been here for so long. Police protection agreement. The borough submitted the language for the police protection agreement, which is being reviewed by the solicitor. If the review and subsequent borough review is completed in time, the agreement will be submitted for board consideration. If not, it will be submitted at the special January meeting.
So I have sent the agreement back to the borough. They got that today, and there were minor changes to what they had proposed. The only sticking point, I don't know that it's really going to be a sticking point, is that for wrestling, the board negotiating team wanted it to be determined. And the borough had put in one officer requirement. So I've sent that back to them, and I would expect that we shouldn't have any trouble getting that approved. If so, I mean, we'll take it back to the board and then submit it for approval in February. Now, if I could try revenue and finance again here, I think we're...
Just, I need to have a comment about the police protection agreement. I got a call from an organization sponsor asking about how the police are paid at school dances and whether or not that number can be modified for after athletic events or school-sponsored functions like prom, Christmas dance, and so on. From what he made it sound like to me is that the police officers are just getting cut like cash right in their hands, done. But from my understanding of the agreement was the school paid for the police protection and we were refunded from the organizations.
Those are booster groups, those aren't like school groups, so that kind of has been going on for years, that they just get a cash directly from that booster group, because it wouldn't come from us, like there's no check that would come from us at all as far as those booster groups that run those after school or after game dances and after football dances. So somebody did bring that up to me also about 2 officers being there, if they could bring it down to 1 for the after school dances or after game dances.
Well, I'm not sure what the
I can't-
contract calls for
yeah.
at this point. Matt, I don't know if you remember or not.
But I think our contract, if I remember correctly, was Christmas, the big ones. I don't think it dealt with the booster ones after.
Games.
Well, no, the after athletic event dances had 2 officers and every other one had 1. And from my understanding is the ones that we sponsor, such as the Christmas dance,
Right.
more for whatever we do, that's paid by the school. But the question was whether these booster organizations are running the dances, are they responsible to pay the police directly at the night of the dance, or are they responsible to pay the school back for paying the police officers for having the protection at the dance? The person who called me wanted some kind of paper trail or some kind of record saying that they paid the police, so the cash isn't the iffy question. So I'm just bringing that up to maybe discuss if we want to require organizations to, or if we want to pay the police directly for their protection at our after athletic event dances, and then have the organizations pay us back. I don't know if that's something that we should do, or.
Mr. Morella, on some of those ones where they're boosters fundraiser, they directly pay the officers in cash. I don't know sometimes the officers donate the money back.
Right.
And I don't know that us paying them and the boosters, how that would affect that. Sometimes they just don't take the money.
I
How
don't
would we
think-
even get it back from the boosters? They can't
We've
bill them.
we've never like billed a booster group to pay another entity, so it's always just been, they just pay the cash, because they get the cash coming in, they know their profit,
And
they
just
pay
to
their
let you guys
DJ.
know, there's one dance this year, and it's being sponsored by an in-school organization called the Caring Team. So there are no booster-sponsored dances after athletic events this year.
No, after the basketball game.
There's one dance this year. We've cut back on them, and we offered 2 internally, and the numbers were really, like, no one really seemed to want them. So I offered it out to a few sports groups, and then I had to like re-offer again. So we have one dance sponsored by the Caring Team on January 29th. So it would be an in-school organization.
And I think that was part of the conversation was since it's such an upfront cost to these organizations that pay 2 police officers and the DJ on top of, they're not making enough money to even hold the dances in the first place. And so it sounds like it is deterring them from holding dances. I don't know how much profit they're gonna make in these
In
dances.
the new one, you don't know if it was 2 or 1.
It's 2.
It's 2 for the
It says 2.
after school.
Yeah.
It says based on a normal 2-hour Friday night dance following athletic events, it would be 2.
It'd probably be wise to try and negotiate that to 1 at least, or.
Well, I
that's
think we
all right.
have the option on everything to change the amounts, or is that just for the
No,
games?
it says, if during the term of the agreement, the district wishes to modify the complement of officers at an event, or the starting time, it will be necessary for the district to notify the mayor
A couple days
in
in
writing at
advance.
least 2 days in advance. So I
Right,
mean,
so
I
they
guess for a
could be.
dance, if we just wanted one, you could notify the borough, and that's what would happen.
So I guess it comes back again, it's not our dance, like, we just let them use the gym, the facility, the boosters put in through these guys, hey, you know, so. But
Well,
again,
if it's
we
only
don't
one
have any
dance.
right now, so it really, I guess it's a moot.
But then how are they even being told about it? Or do you know if that organization actually has contacted the police to get?
contact the
We
police.
take care of
You
that.
take care of it, so they go through you and then you call them and get them lined up, okay. Because sometimes they have friends that, you know, will come and, or do we require it to be the Ellwood police, or can they have their own
It's the Ellwood
security?
It's Ellwood
police?
police.
Okay.
Let's try this again. Revenue and Finance. We'll have our regular monthly reports for December and January on Thursday evening. We have a couple of tax refund requests, actually 3 of them. Lee Harshel, Ronald Lagana, and Suzanne Stencil have requested overpayment of property and per capita taxes. The totals are $532.55, $1268, and $960 respectively, plus I have to pay them interest. I'm still ascertaining the dates that those payments were paid so that I can do that calculation. So we'll have those for you on Thursday evening. Worksite Medical, which is formerly Apple, has submitted an agreement for calendar year 2016 to do the random drug testing that we do. They proposed a rate hold. So the drug test will cost us $65. Breath alcohol is $30. And then they do charge us a lab tech fee at $65 an hour. Tax and revenue anticipation note, we did get $7.3 million on January 5th, so we did not have to close our TRAN that was scheduled to close on January 11th. We don't know whether the state's going to continue to provide us subsidy or whether this was a one-shot deal until they can get a budget passed, so I've kind of left the TRAN open. By March 15th, we'll make a decision, and it should be an easy decision because we'll know whether the state's providing money or not. If the state starts to let the subsidy flow, we'll just terminate the TRAN, and we're going to have about $500 in legal fees for the documents that have been put together in anticipation of the closing, but no fee to the financial advisor, so we've actually done pretty well there. If in fact they don't provide us money at the state level, I anticipate we'll get into and maybe even through April without having to close on a loan. So, but again, it's out there. If we need it, we'll have to renegotiate with them, but we've gone through the major process. The 2016-17 proposed preliminary general fund budget, I have put that together. I've given you a copy of it. It is on display in my office per the Pennsylvania Department of Ed requirement, the PDE 2028. Quickly, I've done the best I could in the time I had. I've adjusted the salaries based on the contracts that we have. I've adjusted the Social Security cost that goes with those salaries as well as the retirement, and I've taken a look at the medical insurance costs. And that's basically what I've worked with to this point. We'll get in detail into all the other accounts as we go through the budget process into April, May, and June. The total expenses on this preliminary budget, though, total expenses are $28,600,000, which is in number 2. We do have a $450,000 budgetary reserve, which we put in there in case something unheard of happens. A boiler goes out at Perry, so on and so forth. So the net costs are about $28,191,000. Total revenues on this preliminary budget are $27,160,178. I did include an adjustment for the retirement subsidy, because as your retirement costs go up, so goes the subsidy that the state provides you. I've increased the basic ed subsidy just a little bit based on what I think we're going to get this year. But again, that's still a moving target because we haven't got a state budget for 15-16, so I really don't know what those numbers are. In this preliminary budget, I've included a 1 mil tax increase. And again, there's no obligation whatsoever to increase the taxes a mil, a half a mil, nothing. There's no obligation, but because we're doing an Act 1 budget, that's basically saying the board wants the flexibility to raise taxes beyond the index if they feel it's necessary. So the index is 3.5%. That would get us about 0.57 mils. And so again, if we're going to go through the Act 1 process, we can apply for referendum exceptions, which would allow us to go past that 3.5%. So I put 1 mil in, again, just to take care of the index costs, plus the exceptions that we may apply for and get. Number 4, there was $350,000 in our general fund budget for 15-16 to finish up the HVAC project here at Lincoln High School, so I've taken that out. Those things all combined get us a total increase in expenses of approximately $732,000, which is 2.6%. The budget in front of you at your spot there